Oh, hi there. I didn't want to make another video on what's going on with Eric Karlsson. For me, it's not really my bag, and I kind of want to move on to a different subject. Mostly because it sounds like overly attached girlfriend issues, and I had made some points, and I can read between the lines, and I'm starting to see some of what I said before is actually accurate. I made an hour-long video, and I didn't talk like a chick on that video, and I'm not going to, because obviously I am not a chick. Anyway. I had mentioned I believed it was the Ottawa Underground who was paying Eric Karlsson copious amounts of money, and Eric Karlsson, handsome man, worth a lot of money, very talented hockey player, Swedish, yeah, so to quickly recap, Mike Hoffman and him weren't getting along because their bitches were having an argument. And they talk differently than men do. And the thing is, I asked the question, how Swedish is Eric Karlsson? And this is a point I have made before. Like, I live in Vancouver. Vancouver was essentially Team Sweden for so many years, and not just with Henrik and Daniel Sundin, but you got Alexander Edler, you got Jannik Hansen, handful of other people that have been Swedes in the last number of years on our team, and it's just like, how Swedish are you? And this whole story, I don't like it. It's, I think it should just be dropped. I don't find this to be particularly entertaining. I mean, there probably are some sick, twisted weirdos out there that do, but that's not me. Anyway, big trade rumor that he's going to Tampa Bay. But what doesn't make sense about that is, guess where Mike Hoffman's playing? Florida. They're both going to be playing in the state of Florida. And these are two men that are supposed to hate each other's guts. And oddly enough, they played on the same team for the year that this was in question. And not only that, the news has a tendency to tell things a bit later than when they actually happened. So, and Eric Karlsson, he was criticized for having an off year. He had over 60 points as a defenseman. Anyone who says that can shut the fuck up, because you don't know what you're talking about. Any defenseman that gets 60 points, that's awesome. It wasn't a career high, obviously, but he didn't play a full season because he had an injury. These are things to be considered. Anyway, there's big talk of him going to Tampa Bay. And the hockey guy was mentioning that he was good friends with Victor Hedman. Another Swede, coincidentally. I know there's nepotism, but evidently. I was happy that the captain of the team that won the Stanley Cup was a Russian this year. I mean, I hear Russians can be quite unfriendly people sometimes, but Alex Ovechkin, he's a good guy. So that's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. He's entertaining on the ice. I don't really know anything about him personally, but anyway, all aside. Eric Karlsson going to Tampa Bay doesn't make any sense. Mike Hoffman still having a career in the NHL doesn't make a lot of sense, other than, there's a lot of money involved. Both handsome men. Chicks are going to like them. Chicks tend to gravitate around men that are handsome, stupid, and worth a lot of money. And if they're nice too, then they're really in for it. So that's, that's a bunch of, like not good stuff. Because, a lot of people think that out there in the world, it's all men who are assholes. Okay, they are, a lot of them are, but there are plenty of women who are bitchy in their own ways. And this is self-evident in the story that was first told upon on Erik Karlsson and what was going on with him and Mike Hoffman. Of course, they gave the dummy version, and any idiot who doesn't really follow hockey, but I can see why some people don't follow hockey, because they'll look at it, they'll get a bland, statistical information, maybe somebody will do a neat trick on the ice, give a poor interview, whatever, and that's all they think of when they think of hockey. So they go, oh, this is a waste of my time, I'm not making any money here, so I'm not going to bother. But it's called research. You look into something and why it makes money and how you could potentially make money out of it. And, the underground in Ottawa was most obviously displeased. And they probably have been for some time. And this story with Hoffman was probably manufactured. I mean, both guys are under 30 years of age. They're well within the capability of being manipulated, conditioned, yada yada yada, because both of them were a fair amount of money. They've been watched for a long time, and just the crowd that's around them, pushing and prodding and pulling them in certain directions. I mean, you gotta be a strong mind to not put up with that stuff. You must remember, these guys are hockey players. So they gotta worry about training too, for, to be able to physically be able to play hockey for 82 games a year and still put a performance on in the playoffs. So, they don't have time to train the brain, exactly the way they ought to sometimes. So, I don't know, it's possible Mike Hoffman, swayed off the tracks a little bit, and his psycho girlfriend was a total bitch. I'm not going to alibi Mike Hoffman if I got specific details as to why he was being an asshole, if he was being an asshole. But what if it, as a hypothetical, what if it was Erik Karlsson who was being the asshole? But he had a stronger influence in the media than Mike Hoffman, and they needed a story to distract people from the Ottawa Underground. So they go, well, we got to make these two fight each other, and we'll peg Mike Hoffman as the bad guy. And what's Mike Hoffman going to do? Is he going to go on his Twitter account and go, it's all a bunch of lies, I didn't say that, blah, 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 blah. And then an admin shows up and goes, what do you think you're doing, Mike Hoffman? I can't allow you to do that. You have to take the rap for this. And, obviously, we live in an age where women can run around like psychos. And it's somehow, acceptable. I mean, I believe women definitely have rights, and they should have had an unfair shake in the past. That's most certainly true. But this kind of mentality that's going on, it's mental illness, really. I mean, you look at the LGBT, which some women support, some don't, but I'll talk about the ones that do, and around here in Vancouver in particular, it's like they all want to dress up like hentai characters. They don't want to be human anymore. And it's like, okay, well, you're a bit screwed up in the head. If you think this is how you can empower yourself, essentially running around like it's a new age soap opera or something, then, obviously there's going to be a lot of really awkward arguments, and this totally sounds like one. And the news that Erik Karlsson going to Tampa Bay, to me it says okay, Mike Hoffman and Erik Karlsson, they may have disagreements with one another, but not to the point where it's like, I'll see you next season, friendo. And yeah, that kind of argument. Usually if someone you just absolutely can't tolerate, and they're in some sort of position where you can't exactly make them go away, like, I mean, actually, like, get rid of them, then you want to distance yourself from them as much as possible so that you don't have to deal with their bullshit all the time. But the idea that Erik Karlsson going over to Tampa, that's, you know, an indicator that that's not quite the case, because there's calibrations of dislike for people. And that was what was misleading about the original story, is that it was Mike Hoffman's out of control, his psycho girlfriend is saying all of this horrible shit. And these guys got thick skins, they're hockey players. They can be tough as nails sometimes. Sometimes they're little pansies, but you know, it's human nature, unfortunately. And you know, I'm not Swedish, so I don't think the way they do. You may have noticed that there's a 91 on this jersey, Steven Stamkos. I like Steven Stamkos. I did say that, you know, there were players that if they don't win a Stanley Cup, that at that particular time, like obviously when Tampa played Chicago, they never will. Maybe that was a, you know, just a shot in the arm for Stamkos, as far as, you know, I could say. Saying, hey, you gotta step up your game there, you fella. You don't want to be without a Stanley Cup, do you? And, you know, I don't think Erik Karlsson should be the focus point of Tampa Bay Lightning. Stamkos is awesome. I don't know how well he's doing physically, because it's a very demanding sport, and, you know, of course, on news media, we get the junk version of everything, right? Upper body injury, foot injury, if we're lucky that they tell us anything at all. So, you know, that would be a factor, obviously, but we don't know. His point totals were fine last year. Tampa Bay made it to the finals, not to the finals, they made it to the finals before, and did not bad in the playoffs this year. Despite having to play against Brad Marchand. Ugh. Disgrace. Yeah, it's a very, very complicated subject, and, you know, I try to think of it from a reasonable perspective. I obviously don't want to delve into that whole creepy psycho girlfriend world or anything like that, where just like, you know, I'd rather doubt Mike Hoffman or Erik Karlsson have that much control over their women. They're very, you know, like, demanding and expecting things and, you know, that kind of stuff. And there are guys that will prop them up, people that will prop them up to be a problem. And, you know, I couldn't get behind leadership that was like that, if that was their modus operandi, that was, you know, just the way how that they were moving along with their various pieces of their financial capabilities. I couldn't go with a leadership that was like that. And, you know, I think Erik Karlsson, maybe he thinks the same way, but again, he's a Swede, so I don't know. And Mike Hoffman, you know, he's not a Swede, so we don't know. And this is also considering that Erik Karlsson is a player in the NHL. Players get told what to do by the coaches. Coaches get told what to do by the GMs. GMs get told to do what by the owners. So maybe, you know, they pitched this idea to him to go to Tampa Bay because his old buddy, Victor Hedman, fellow Swede, is there, and really he's just being pushed in that direction because, you know, he signed a contract and accepted a lot of money, and it's not really his choice to go to Tampa Bay. Because as you may recall, there were a lot of teams that were trying to grab him, right? And usually that kind of mentality, when you think of it, is kind of like, you know, zombies or something. You know, you're New York, Dallas, Tampa Bay, even a little bit of Montreal and things like that. And it's like Erik Karlsson is, you know, a human doing his own thing. And all these teams that weren't particularly good just got the, he's got Stanley Cup potential look. And it's going to be like, you know, Shaun of the Dead when that douchebag who had, you know, like an emotional breakdown or something stupid like that. And in the bar scene, and then the zombies all get him and pull him apart. And it's like, I don't even like zombie movies, you know. I don't like them. Okay, so those are all things to consider. I pitched some ideas. Let me know what you think in the comments below. There is one guy in particular who is really pissing me off with the things he's calling me. He could just be the messenger bearer of bad news. For all I know, this video could get 1,000 views. They may not be real, but they may manipulate the numbers so I think that they're real. And it may have just like a whole stream of comments. That's happened to me before, where it became an echo chamber of people calling me names and things like that and implying things that weren't accurate. And I went, is that the best you can do as far as psychology goes? You're pathetic. Pathetic. Years at a esteemed university and that's all you can do? Like what, are you from like the time of the dinosaurs or what the fuck? Those people on the internet, a bunch of douchebags is what they are. I realize I'm on the internet saying this, but the difference between me and them is I'm actually talking on a video, whereas they're just a bunch of fucking keyboard warriors going, "Blah, blah, 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 blah. I'll never be that popular because I'm an unpleasant person in real life, so I have to destroy somebody else. That's the only way I can be happy." Fuck off. Okay, I got a little bit off topic. If he goes to Tampa Bay, there is strong indication, assuming it's not just propaganda, because the way that people have been talking to me on my social media, I went, look, just because it says something on the Google or MSN doesn't mean that it's accurate, because I'm out of touch with, you know, reality just because of various factors. But then I heard the hockey guy mention it, and you know, that was a bit reassuring. Although they have gotten a lot better at audio voice editing, so, and also dubbing. So like when a person goes to speak, they got their voice recorded with some machine, and words are coming out of their mouths, and they've changed them, and it seems seamless if done appropriately. So I guess people have got to learn to move their mouths in a certain way where it's obvious what they're saying. That's called lip reading. Johnny Lee Miller, excellent at it in elementary. So look, that's all to be considered. Because I did think, like, look, what if I'm just getting this untrue version of events on the internet, and you know, I ain't got no one to ask in person who's interested in hockey or whatever. So I don't know if the internet's not lying to me. And at this point in time, I think for any question, it's fair to say there could be a motive for someone lying in it. And this whole situation indicates that. Anyway, this is my video. Talk to you guys later. And on a final note, if Erik Karlsson does go to the Tampa Bay Lightning, I mean, Matthias Olin went there from Vancouver to, you know, kind of mentor Victor Hedman. Victor Hedman's been very, very quiet. You know, he was like high draft pick. I can't even remember. I think he might have been first overall actually, or second or something like that. And he's been very quiet in Tampa Bay. It's just like nobody even talks about him anymore. So bringing in Eric Karlsson might add a bit more to it. But I don't want people to start thinking Tampa Bay's Team Sweden. They have no right to take that away from Steven Stamkos. Anyway, now I'm serious. This is the final comment on this video. Talk to you guys later, and for the trolls out there, see ya.